Hey guys, Mika here, and I'm bringing you a relic from the past. This is a 2001 custom tenor size Model 400 or the 400 series of the one of my favorites, the Ko'olau custom ukulele. Now, like I was mentioning, this was built in 2001, so about 22 years ago. And when I first picked up this instrument, I was tuning and kind of playing around with it. The first thing I thought of in my head was like, wow, you can get this kind of sound back in 2001 because nowadays in 2023 there's a lot of luthiers, there's a lot of different types of custom instruments that's readily available, and there's just so much to choose from nowadays. But even so much as like 10 years ago, especially back in 2001, the custom building ukulele world was a much different landscape back then. So having a custom was really, really rare and really special back then. So, when I just picked up this instrument and played, I was like, wow, like this sounds so good. And it's 22 years, like I would have been like, I was like 5 years old back then. I was a baby, but like, wow, like playing something like this back then, 22 years ago, like it's incredible. It just shows how ahead of the time that Ko'olau was. I mean, it's still at the top. I mean, I own a custom Ko'olau myself. That's how much I love the instrument. But even just back then, 20 something years ago, it's just phenomenal instruments, and it's really just it's just keeps getting better and better. But wow, this is an incredible instrument. This instrument was actually built by John Kitakis, who is the original founder of Ko'olau ukulele and guitars, or Ko'olau guitar and ukuleles, before he stepped down and he had Noah Bonk go ahead and continue to run the Ko'olau ukuleles and guitars. And he's the one who built my very own custom ukulele, tenor size ukulele. So this is amazing because I don't think I've had the pleasure of playing one of John's built Ko'olau instruments. So this is really special for me and just the kind of connection that I have with Ko'olau instruments. So very, very sweet. So this one, nice aged spruce. Again, this is 22 years old, so it has that nice kind of old patina kind of look and finish on the front here of the instrument. Again, that really nice golden spruce. For those of you who don't know, spruce, maybe when you get it at first, it will be nice and white or maybe somewhat yellowish, but over time as spruce ages, it gets darker in color and it gets more to like a golden color. Some spruce even gets as dark as cedar. Like it's kind of hard to tell the difference at first, but this one has a really nice kind of a baked golden color. And then here on the sides and back, really nice Hawaiian curly koa. Look how big that grain pattern is here. Nice little back end strip right here along the center of the back. And then the binding itself is ivoroid binding here on the back and the front, as well as around the fretboard itself here on the sides. And then you also can see the black fret markers here on the side of the fretboard, as well as the typical 5 double dot 7, 10 double dot 12, and 15th fret markers here on the fretboard. Really nice white and red purfling lines, accented really, or paired really nicely with the palo abalone shell around the body. And for me, this is pretty rare to see a ko'olau with binding or abalone shell on the outside of the instrument, because even nowadays it's very common to have just the abalone around the sound hole as a rosette, because this is a lot more just not as common. So like for mine, I've specifically requested that I wanted shell around the outside of the instrument, but it's pretty rare to find it here on the outside of the instrument. And then again, the red and white is really nice. It matches really nicely with that kind of baked golden aged spruce here on the top. Now, before I get into the other, the quick other specs of this instrument, I mentioned earlier that this is the 400 series model. So right now, currently, if you were to go to Ko'olau and go ahead and try to order custom, you have a total of pretty much 5 models. You have, starting at the lowest, you have the T1, then the T100, then the deluxe model, the CS or the contemporary series model, and then pretty much the big daddy premium series model. But back then, before it was tiered off in that way, we had the 100, 200, 300, 400, and then the 500 series model. So you can pretty much kind of line it up. T1 is the 100, T100 is the 200, and so on. So this is pretty much the equivalent of the very common route that a lot of people go, which is when they order a full custom with Ko'olau, they go for the CS or contemporary series model. This this is pretty much the 400 series is that equivalent back then when this was built in 2001. So this is, as you can see, this is pretty decked out for a ko'olau because, again, it's pretty rare to have the binding or that abalone shell around the entire body of the instrument. And then just having really nice curly koa as well. And again, this is 22 years ago, so this is some very nice stuff. And then we have a Macassar ebony or just regular ebony wood here on the bridge, fretboard, as well as the headstock with the same old ko'olau logo. It has not changed. Even on mine, it looks like this. And then at the time, Grover tuners were, that was it. That was the hot stuff back then. So you got nice, big, old, gold, blingy Grover gear tuners here on both sides of the instrument. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, when I was playing this, it just reminded me, or it gave me that thought. It's like, wow, you can get this kind of sound in 2001. Like, this is... It just kind of goes back to what I mentioned about the other ko'olau instruments that I sound sampled here, is that the reason why I really love ko'olau is that it's just such a balanced instrument. You get a lot of you get a little of everything in the whole sound spectrum, from the lows to the highs, especially with the spruce, and a lot of the mid-range sound, especially what you're going to get with the koa back and sides. But whenever I play a ko'olau, it's just extremely balanced in terms of what kind of sounds and the tones it gives off. It kind of just gives you a little of everything inside the sound spectrum. So because this is low G, I get a lot of that depth from the lower end, just these two. And if I were to go ahead and very clean lower ends, but then when I go on the highs, nice sustain and nice, it's very sweet, nice and warm, which is what you get in that mid-range. But then you can hear how it's still, like, it slices through, it pierces through. Like, listen to that 15, so crisp. A lot of it has to do with that nice spruce top. Get that nice cut through. But it still gets a nice, warm, rounded sound. Or even here on the middle two strings. It's just such a clean instrument. I mean, from 2001 to even the instruments built nowadays with ko'olau, it's just one of the best instruments really you can get out there. It's just such a... Listen how clean. Oh my gosh. ...2001, folks. This to me, this instrument would hold against some of the best customs built yesterday or even a month ago. I mean, this is phenomenal. And it, again, just brings me back to my point. When I first picked it up, I was just like, wow, like, this is... Of course, you know, it has the advantage of aging over 20 years and the wood opens up and the instrument is aged and stuff like that. But still, like, what a beast of an instrument. Fantastic. So here's an uninterrupted sound sample. Listen to that. How loud it is. So sweet. instrument. Wow. Here's some strumming.